In the FPV community, there's this very common line of advice, and it's that buying expensive motors is a waste of money because every motor is gonna break just the same if you crash into a steel beam at full speed. And that may be true in isolation, but in practice you just never actually crash that hard. And on the little crashes that do happen, the durability difference is pretty big. And it's very oftentimes the difference between getting stuck on a sketchy roof and having to climb up versus just putting on turtle mode and flying away like nothing ever happened. But with so many options available these days, all advertising with super high durability and bando proofness, it's just impossible to tell which ones are actually good and which ones suck. So in this video, we're gonna find out what is actually the best motor for durability, which ones should you absolutely stay away from, and maybe we'll find some hidden gems that are very cheap but still pretty durable. And to test it, I got 21 of the most popular motors from various different manufacturers and different price points. All of these are paid for with either my own money or your Patreon money, so shout out to the Patreon members. Then I got a fresh error frame from itsFPV. This one was sponsored, but not the motors. Then I got a big old steel beam, and I made this little contraption that allows me to drop the drone onto the steel beam at exactly the same angle and a controlled height every single time. And I also got one of the other Nielses from itsFPV to come over with his fancy slow-mo camera, so we get some nice shots like this. And with that, let's run the test. We put on the first motor, pull it up to 50 centimeters, let it drop, pull it up to 1 meter, let it drop, 1.5 meters, and so on, until 3 meters, and then continue in 1 meter steps, so 3 meters, 4 meters, and 5 meters. And here are the results. And with these results, there are two issues. Number one, not all of the motors broke, only 4 of them. And number two, the DeepSpace motor broke, which I know for a fact is definitely more durable than some of the other ones that did survive. So maybe it just got really unlucky, or it actually is less durable on this specific corner. But since I can't really go higher than 5 meters anyways, I had to build a new test setup. So as it turns out, most motors have their strongest point on this top corner on the edge, which makes sense because that's where you're gonna get most of the hits. But the real motor killer is if you get unlucky and you bypass the frame protection and you get it hit directly onto the motor bell. So I designed the second test to do exactly that, and we got the quad crossbow. And with that, let's run test round number 2. Pull it back to 40 centimeters, then 35, 30, and then continue in 2.5 centimeter steps, so 27.5, 25, 22.5, and so on until the motor breaks. And when it breaks for the first time, it oftentimes only gets stuck a little bit, so I'm actually also gonna bend it back with my big old pliers and keep going until it's completely fucked. And here are the results. Nothing really too surprising to me. Some did a little bit better than expected, some other ones did worse than expected, but overall seems about right. And the top 10 are all Unibel designs, so I guess that settles that debate. But just having a Unibel design isn't an instant win, because the last one is also a Unibel, the Xing 2. But yeah. And after I finished all the tests, I did 2 more runs to verify that the test setup is consistent. I tested the DeepSpace motor again, and it came in very low at 40 and 30. But then I also tested the itsFPV motor again, and it came in at exactly the same 12.5 and 5, which was a bit worrying until I took a closer look at the 2 DeepSpace motors that I tested, because the one that came in at rank 4 is a 1960 kV, and the one that came in last is a 2050 kV, and the 2050 is also the one that broke on the first test, which was very confusing. But when I took a closer look at both of the motors, I discovered that these are not actually really the same, because the motor shaft is kind of different between the two. And the 2050 one is a bit more hollowed out. So I don't know if the design of these two KVs is actually different or if the 2050 is just an earlier design that was later on fixed. But yeah, these are definitely not the same motor. And I'm pretty sure that the 1960 kV would not have failed the first test. So yeah, this test is reasonably accurate, but it's obviously not a lab grade test. And motors can fail in many different ways that you will only notice when you actually fly them over a long time. For example, the itsFPV motor has this little issue where the flux ring comes out. You can push it back in, but it's a bit annoying. And it seems to happen a bit more on newer batches, so I hope T-Hobby can fix it. But it's a little bit annoying. It's not a deal breaker, you can push it back in with some pliers. But yeah, the Flyfish Flash is performing quite well on the test. And if I do the crash test, I can see why. It's really quite good. I've not flown it myself, but it does make a pretty good impression. Then the Meps SZ V2 motor is a lot cheaper than the previous motors at like 11 or 12 bucks and doing pretty well. And in practice, it also does reasonably well. It is noticeably worse than the itsFPV motor, but not by that much. So if you're looking for a cheap motor that doesn't suck, this might be a good option. Then in rank 4, the DeepSpace motor. And I did fly those myself a little bit, and they are overall decent, but they have a pretty annoying issue, and they like to cut the motor windings, which is honestly the most annoying part that can break, because then you have to solder on a new one. Then the Xing E Pro in 5th place. They might be high up on this test, but they have a really annoying design issue, and that is these little teeth that grip your propeller. They like to strip off super easily, and then you will always have loose propellers and you cannot tighten them anymore. So I honestly wouldn't recommend these. And then the Meps Neon. I don't know why you would buy these over the Meps SZ. Just get the Meps SZ instead.